Hey, Ronnie here. Shall we make a game? Today I am trying to fix some of the mess I made yesterday with this sort of angel character who's meant to be our sort of somewhere between an antagonist and supporting character. So, problem number one, I can see almost immediately when coming back into this. The head is way too big. And I think the reason that happened is I scaled the whole model up to make him a bit taller than the protagonist. But I didn't scale the head down to kind of correct for that. So, damn, he is tall. It's like 1.8 meters. Okay, yeah, he really is tall. Let's just set the cursor to the bottom of the head, grab the whole head, and we're going to scale around the 3D cursor. How much are we going to scale it down? Maybe about that much? Maybe a bit more. Like that? Yeah, that looks... Let's get that 3D cursor out of the way. And that immediately looks a bit less weird. So the next thing is, maybe I need to give the face a bit of a shape adjustment, because at the moment it's the exact same shape as our protagonist. So I want to go for a more kind of like slightly more youthful look for this character. So that's kind of like, oh yeah, that's made a big difference already. That's made the character look way more like a different person, not like the same person, but taller. And the next thing I was going to do was going to work on the hair. Yeah, that's right. I just started unwrapping it and they went, this seems kind of difficult. I'll leave that for tomorrow. So let's fix that now. Oh, I really did leave a mess here, didn't I? What was I thinking? Well, I know exactly what I was thinking. This looks like a problem for me tomorrow. But now it's a problem for me today. Okay, oh, that hasn't unwrapped very well at all. Let's sort that out. Ah, no. Okay. What's this triangle? Where does that come from? Which part of the equation is that? Oh, it's that part. Did I mean to? I don't think I mean to re-unwrap that, so I'm just going to undo that. Oh god, I've only just started and I'm already making a right mess. Okay, I need to put a seam there, and then we can re-unwrap all of this. Aha. The question is, which part of this is which? Is it that way around? I think it's that way around. Yeah, it's that way around. Because this edge here is the one we split along there. Okay, so now I'm just going to join these back up to the rest of the head where it's obvious that they join up. Why is it doing... Ah, I know what's doing that. I've got Pixel Snap turned on. Alright, that's better. And where the heck did that go? This is around here, isn't it? Yeah, okay. I've ended up with an extremely wide UV island there that definitely isn't right. But I think if we texture it carefully, it won't matter. Yeah, that'll do. So let's just grab A Sprite again. Hopefully it won't be weird and cursed today. No guarantee though. So where are we filling into texels here? All the way up here. Yep, and then a few here. Let's just do a bit of guesswork and then correct it later, I suppose. Hey, we're almost right. That wasn't a bad guess. So one of the things is, I was anticipating I was going to have to cut scope on this, but I'm thinking I'm really going to have to cut scope on this, and quite frankly, I'm going to have to cut, because we're now 7 streams in, meaning that we're about 12% of the way through. of the time that I've kind of like allowed myself for this. And in terms of progress, we're way less than 12%. The plot of the game is, of course, you're meant to have the kind of like 12 fate points you can spend. So three fate, not 12, 3 fate points you can spend. And I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure that I'm even going to have 3 scenarios you can play through. I mean, I could maybe get them modeled, but scripted and playable, I don't think so. So I need to be having a bit of a think about what I'm going to do about that. How am I going to work around that? What am I going to replace that here to get this ideally kind of playable? Do I just make an intro teaser and that's it? Because that might be where we end up. Okay, let's give us a bit of an adjustment. This is hair, so it's meant to have a bit more specularity to it than, say, the wood I think I just copied this from. Oh, I've still got palette lock on. Of course I do. Why? Okay, I'm sure that has a reason for being there, but A, I don't know what it is, and B, it probably shouldn't be the default. Saturate slightly more yellow. How does that look? Okay, that's starting to look good. Next up, we need to bring his hairline down a bit because this is meant to be kind of flopping over the top of it, over the top of his head. So kind of more like that. Not quite like that, but that's closer. That's definitely closer. Now it looks strangely Elvis-like, and I can't really put my finger on what I've done. Okay, so next, now we've got that kind of in there, we can start sculpting, well, not sculpting, but kind of like shaping in a bit of detail. Okay, that's immediately looking a lot more interesting and just different from the protagonist. That's kind of where I was hoping to get it to. Just moving some verts around and yeah, just moving some vertices around has just really made a big difference. Can we maybe hint at a bit more light down the side here without kind of destroying the face shape? All right, okay. Okay, next up, do I want to make any adjustments to the clothing? Because it's never looked great to me. Like I got to a point at which I was like, it at least doesn't look terrible anymore, but it doesn't look great. Let's just try playing around with the shades a bit and see if I can maybe, that looks better. Maybe it just needs to be slightly darker. I know I was struggling to get this to look quite right because it was meant to be kind of like white, but in the dark. And it's sort of like, well, that means you get kind of like a gray, which doesn't look like white. I do plan on having a bit of a touch up of all the palettes in this at some point and see if I can get it a bit less actually dark while still looking dark, if that makes sense. You know, make it brighter, but still give the impression of a dark scene, just so it's easy to read. Let's increase the contrast on our protagonist over here. See if we can just get him a bit punchier so he doesn't fall into the background quite so much. So let's darken the low lights and then let's very slightly brighten the highlights. Let's go a bit further than that. How's that look? A bit more saturation, I think. Way more saturation. Ah! Clicking in the wrong place. Okay. That's looking closer. That's starting to pop a bit more from the background, which is what I was kind of after. Doesn't have to actually be that much brighter, just to pop a bit more. So that's, yeah, so that like the background just sort of, well, becomes the background rather than grabbing your attention more than the protagonist. Let's try and do something similar with the trousers. Again, trying to go not too overboard with this, just trying to get it a bit punchier, just a bit. Okay, something else that might help is at the moment these guys don't have shadows. The lighting engine doesn't exist. So I'm just gonna have like blob shadows underneath them like PlayStation 1 games. They're kind of like just a semi-transparent rectangle underneath them just to kind of give the impression of a rough shadow. But again, it still looks like the shadows are slightly punchier on this guy than this guy. So let's see if we can do something about that. Let's increase the kind of contrast between the darkest and lightest areas. Let's desaturate this a bit, as I feel like that colour's a bit too vibrant. That's looking okay. And maybe let's also do something to the skin tone. I've adjusted the skin tone back and forth so many times. I've got to make a decision on it at some point. Okay, let's darken this skin tone just a touch. Okay, that's looking a bit better. All right. Okay. I think that'll do. So next up, I should probably actually give this guy some eyes, right? Or maybe I don't. Maybe I kind of like have him kind of like, yeah, he's so serene that he never opened his eyes. Yeah, this guy will have glasses on, but this guy is meant to be kind of like, well, sort of posing as an angel. So I was also going to put a halo. Did they ever like? Did he have like? Hang on, just gonna. No, he doesn't actually have anything on the bottom of the gown, so I'm just going to put something on there. You're not going to see this realistically, so I'm just going to put any old colour on there. And let's just move it to say there, just so it's definitely not like on the edge. Okay, let's put a halo behind as well. So I'm going to use a similar technique to what I used for the wings. Let's just let's unrotate this guy so I can work a bit more easily on him. Yeah, sorry, just having a bit of a brain fart. Wait, what's going on there? Oh, wait, I've still got... I was like, why is scaling making it do that? That's weird. That's uniform scaling. It's because I've still got the 3D cursor set as the median. So, scale it down a bit. And like that, but we need to texture it. So, grab this, scale it down a bit on Y. And then just do a quick doodle just to make sure I've got the right part of this texture sheet. So I'm going to guess it's like that. Oh, it's 1 pixel off. Okay, so now we figured out where the bounds are. I need to draw a rough circle inside. So let's just grab a darker color. Okay, so again, it's all going to be rectilinear, so I'm not actually going to use the circle for anything. It's just defining kind of like the rough bounds, so I know what to draw within. Let's keep this nice and simple. Let's do it nice and quick. All right, okay, that'll do. Let's just shorten one of these just so they're not quite so uniform. And one there as well. Get rid of all these stray pixels that I was using as a guide. I could use the replace tool for this. Take me about as long as manually deleting them, I think. Let's just have a look how that kind of looks behind. Oh yeah, I should also make like an actual hole in the middle just so there's So it's actually a ring and not just a circle, I guess. I've kind of lost sight of the center, but that'll probably do. There we go, that'll do. Okay, so something I'm just going to do here is I'm just going to adjust this color on the sofa, as I think it's a bit too dark. If I bring the whole scene back in, it's kind of weird how like most of the background kind of like avoids going for like that complete pitch black, you know, just got in the corners here. But actually, maybe I should just darken everything else slightly, just slightly. Maybe it'd look a bit less weird if there was actually that contrast everywhere. Yeah, that's actually looking a bit punchier. I actually kind of like that. I'm usually very careful not to go completely dark into in the shadows, but I think that kind of helps. Let's do the same on the carpet. Let's go darker in the corners. Okay, it's looking a bit more natural. A bit. Not spectacular, but that's starting to hang together a bit more. Where's the... There it is. I was going to say, where's the lamp? I feel the darkest colour on that needs to be a touch darker. I don't remember if this palette's reused anywhere. Let's have a look. See if anything jumps out as being reused. So let's just strip down the edge of there. I guess that's the window. Not that you can see it anyway. Let's just... let's hide the curtain and see how it looks. I would tell you... Oh, there we go. That looks fine. Okay, that's in my view at least, that's actually improved the look of the room quite significantly. I might also darken this book colour here just a touch. Just looks a bit less weird. At the moment, it almost kind of looks like you've got glow-in-the-dark sort of books inside a very dark bookcase. Something that doesn't help. This is probably something that it might not come through on the stream. Blender has this weird thing where whenever the camera stops moving, the whole scene gets very slightly lighter. I don't know if that comes through on this. Like dark, lighter, dark, lighter. Not really sure why that happens. There might be something as like color management or something. I used to think it happened because there was anti-aliasing. But no. Yeah, maybe if it was like, say, doing I think it had like a multi-pass anti-aliasing. If it was like averaging together and somehow had a bit of bias in it, I could see that happening, but that's not what seems to be happening. That's enough. That's enough messing around. Let's go up to the rooftop. So, I haven't actually got GIMP open with the concept art in it. I'm more happy with that model now than I was before. Still not ideal, but I'm more happy with it. Oh, I didn't actually shade the halo. All GIMP opens, also nice. The main feature of the rooftop, realistically, is the kind of city view, which we've kind of already done. It's going to need a few tweaks here and there, but it's mostly already done, so it shouldn't need that much tweaking. How's that look? That looks fine. That looks good. Okay. Where's GIMP gone? There's GIMP. Oh, hang on. I just need to grab the... No, don't make the window that big, Windows. No. Bad Windows. Anyway. Man, I did not have a lot of concept art for this, did I? I was really kind of phoning it in this day. Anyway. Sort of like a rooftop access. I think I had a barrel here. I think that's what that's meant to be. And don't know what this was supposed to be. Should have a look at what the rooftop looks like. Don't spend a lot of time on rooftops. Now most of these are like really kind of really posh rooftops. Rooftop, skyscraper. What kind of features tend to... Okay, lots and lots and lots of... I'm guessing air extractors and stuff. I don't really know. It's interesting how some buildings seem to need that and some don't. Okay, let's duplicate this and move up to the rooftop. Oh, it came with a background. I'm going to separate the background out just on the basis that it's going to be reused between both scenes, but it's obviously its own thing. Okay, now we can strip out everything but the floor. This circle select tool is so good. It really is. It's been in Blender a long time. It's just so good for quickly grabbing things. Oh, and I need to get rid of the curtain reveal hidden. I would press the keyboard shortcut, but this is a kind of reminder that Intel keeps adding keyboard shortcuts for things nobody uses. Okay. So I have kind of like tiles on the roof, and I'm probably going to want a variant for along the back edge and near objects. So if I go Ace Bright, start a new palette. It's mostly going to be very similar to, say, I might drop the brightness in that bit. It's going to be very similar to the kind of like a wall palette, right? Try and balance that color a bit more. It's going to be kind of like just like some kind of stone tile, I guess. So temporarily, I'm just going to steal those colors and put them down here. And just turn the grid back on because I want to stick to that. I always go to like view grid and try and enable it for that. It's in view show grid. Or maybe I could learn the keyboard shortcut. That'd probably help a lot. This should be a dead simple texture. Now this is one of the textures that's actually, the kind of texture that's actually really quite annoying to make because of course it's a tile, meaning it has kind of like sort of, well, grouting, cement, whatever it is around the outside. And because these pixels are quite large, I actually need to put it on one side or the other. I can't have it all the way around because then you end up with, well, let's just show it. You end up with this, oh, I need to grab all the other tiles. Ah. You end up with this effect where you end up with these really, really thick lines because you've effectively got, if I actually turn on the geometry, you've effectively got the same kind of edge on both sides. So you just have to pick a side to kind of have the edge and kind of accept the fact that the entire tile is going to be offset by a pixel. It's annoying, it feels wrong, but it just seems to be the only thing you can really do. So let's fill this in. I'm going to try and avoid putting too much detail into this tile just because it's going to be, well, very tiled. Ah, some of these are flipped. That's not good. Let's get this sorted out. So I guess the next thing I do after this, because I'm going to mostly focus on doing assets on stream. There's obviously going to be quite a bit of programming to do at some point, but I'm hoping to have more kind of like the base engine done before I start streaming that, because I want to mostly stream, let's say, the scripting and stuff like that. I can't imagine that watching someone trying to figure out how to make an engine is going to be particularly interesting. But yeah, after this, I'm going to start doing one of the assets specific to one of the scenarios. Oh, do I just re-unwrap all of this? Okay, unwrap. And we have a fast way of resolving this where we split, move, split, split it in half, that is, split, move. The first scenario I'm looking to actually kind of make is one that isn't really going to take a... Actually, I thought this was about everything I've made so far. It's going to be a very repetitive scene. It's a cinema, so it's going to be just basically a row of chairs and maybe a wall with a bit of like spotlight on it in the background. Keep it nice and simple. I need to think a bit more about how I'm actually going to stage the characters in though, because I haven't really thought about that at all. Another thing I haven't really thought about is how the how exactly you're going to be visiting these scenes. I mean, like, I originally was just going to have them be a cut scene, but I honestly think that's kind of boring. You know, you want to have a bit of the ability to kind of look around the scene, poke at things, so you can have the kind of the angel kind of respond to what you're looking at. So to do that, you can't really have the characters there because a lot of the things they're going to be doing to demonstrate, you know, their kind of like interpersonal conflicts, well, they can't really happen while you're there because they would stop if just, you know, two dudes, one of whom was an angel, just turned up. So do I do some kind of plot device like he's like, you know, showing a holo recording or something like that? So I guess that could kind of work. Yeah, so if I have it tiled like that, you know, if I say, you know, put a bit of, you know, dirt in the corner or something like that, it would look really repetitive. Oh, but wait, hang on a minute. It kind of has a Game Boy look when I do that, when I have it intentionally look a bit poorly put together. You know, it kind of has that sort of slightly gritty, sort of really, really tiling look. Like, say, for example, if I brought up a screenshot of Pokemon Blue. Please don't bring up anything cursed when I search for this. Yeah, that kind of like extremely repetitive sort of tiling, where it's obvious that it's repetitive, kind of gives it that kind of retro look. How's that look? That looks terrible. I'll tell you what that looks like. That looks like certain missions from Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. There's some missions in that game that have really, really repetitive looking textures. Okay, let's bring the brightness of this down a bit. That looks better. That looks much better. Let's get rid of this one stray pixel here and see how that looks. There we go. Hey, I'm starting to like this a bit. Yeah, that'll do. I'm not sure why they're upside down. Is this inside out? Because that's certainly possible. No, it's not inside out. Is it because... I guess it was... I guess there's no requirement that Blender unwraps it in the same orientation I'm looking at it, so I guess this could be expected behavior. Wait, hang on, is it flipped? Why is it flipped? Is that right? I think that's right. No, it wasn't flipped. I had it upside down the other way this entire time. Oh my god. Is that right? That's right. Not that it really mattered, but it mattered to me, okay? So let's make some variations on this. Let's make, we're going to have some that kind of face the open, you know, the sort of open city. So maybe have a bit of a highlight along the edge of that. Let's turn the visibility back on so we can see what we've selected. Turn it back off. Maybe a bit more highlight than that. Maybe we kind of like start to lighten up the side here a bit as well. That's not great. Whatever. We'll figure it out. That said, there is going to be a barrier here, so maybe this should be darker, not lighter. Yeah, okay. And now let's make a version of this to kind of go, or actually be a version of this that's going to have a lot more darkness along the edge here because it's going to be up against a kind of an entrance from the, like a stair access. Right, quick look at the concept art. I reckon 3 tiles will do. Let's make it, actually let's make it slightly less than that. Okay, wrong window. Let's make a variant of this which is shaded along the left edge. So we've got the occlusion from the stair access. Let's spread that shadow out a bit more. It's a bit too dark at the minute. That's more like it. Let's also do that up here. Oh, we kind of already have. Okay. Right, and then we're going to build up our kind of roof access. So let's get, let's have a look. What kind of materials are these usually made out of? I just realized that what I just searched for, the search results are all urban explorers. I'm probably on even more lists now. Okay, that's kind of made up kind of like sort of vertical panels. Some of these are like doors that open upwards. It's not. That's anime. That's not real. Sorry, but that's anime. It's not real. So I guess I'll go for that panel look. I mean, like, this is also kind of doing something kind of like that, and it would give us a bit of interesting sort of texture up here. So again, we're going for a tiled approach. Probably going to reuse some colors again, and then just adjust them if we need to. How many pixels is that? 8. There we go. Again, we're going to have a similar problem where we have to shade one. If we're going to have like this kind of like line indicating a an indentation, can't put it on both sides because then we'll end up with a weird effect where it's got like a double thick line, which it shouldn't have. Now, a bit of a problem with this is that this doesn't look like kind of like an indented part. It just looks like a weird sort of tiling gradient. If I darken it a lot, it might fix the problem slightly. Say if I darken it 100%, that'll probably do. Okay, so next step is, what are we doing? What are we doing? Grabbing all of these, and let's just snap the cursor to this. Grab all of these, separate them from the rest of the model, and then we can rotate them a touch. And now we have a row that we can kind of tile upwards. Oh, it's rotated. Of course it is. Of course it is. Okay, maybe the this gradient has got too many steps. It looks a bit weird. So I might actually double up the quantity of the stripes and stick to the brightest colors, and then reserve the darker colors for when you're kind of like close to the ground. All right, okay, let's make a variation of this that's designed to go in contact with the ground. Got a bit of occlusion along the bottom. Okay, now how tall would this be? I think it'd be 2.5 meters again. Just because that's roughly how tall the room is. Although it needs some room, it needs some like internal space for the roof and stuff. So we'll make it 3 meters. So oh, that's actually really tall. Maybe this needs to be wider. Yeah, this rooftop needs to be wider than the room we were just in. Yeah, it might need to be, so I'll sort that in a second. It's just a matter of using the array tool again. Again, we're going to need some slight variations going to the corners. So make a version of this that's kind of shaded from the right. All right, okay. I might also introduce just a little bit of kind of variation in this. Not too much, but just a touch here and there, just like the odd little scuff and things like that, just to make it look a bit less, well, overly clean. Okay, that's looking a bit like, looks like a Minecraft texture for like planks or something. It's not quite what I was going for, but I'll leave it for now and see how I feel about it later. We're also going to need a version of this which has a bit of shadow at the top because it's going to be running up to the rooftop. Okay, totally black on the top, and then, oops, went to the wrong palette. Kind of shade it down a bit like that. That should be good. Probably not going to model the roof of this just because it's not going to be in shot really, though you'll be able to occasionally see like the edge of it like that. So what else is there? There's also a door. So again, doors tend to be roughly 2 meters tall, so it's going to be 4 tiles. They tend to be about 1 meter wide, so, well, 1 meter to about 1.5 meters, depending upon the door. So, show the grid. I'm going to grab the wood texture. Well, I keep saying texture, it's a palette. Grab the wood palette from earlier. Don't really know why you'd have a wooden door on the rooftop, seems like a bad idea. But that's what we're doing. It's going to be 16 this way, and then like 32 this way. Yeah, that'll do. And then we're just going to use that color on here. It's going to be, the door is going to be slightly away from the wall because I can imagine you probably wouldn't have a door right up against the wall. That'd be kind of weird. Well, I mean like right up against the edge. It's going to be like interior wall and stuff for it to kind of like work around. Let's do a bit of a rough texture on this just so I can kind of see that I'm putting it all in the right place. Ah. Right, okay. Now I'm going to do another kind of like sides of this you can see from some angles. It's going to have kind of like, you know, some sort of trash here, so going to do like a very slightly different, a slight variation on it, just to have a bit more sort of shadow on it, just so it looks kind of natural. Is there anything else up here? I was going to have some kind of like an air conditioning unit here. I need to model that yet. But let's get this door kind of filled in. So Sounds like a completely unimportant question. Which side would the handle be on? Whatever. We'll put it on the right hand side. It's going to be kind of shaded at the bottom due to the occlusion. I'm thinking this door probably wouldn't have like panels in it. You know, some doors have kind of like decorative panels in it. It's not really a decorative door, if that makes sense. It's kind of one that sort of exists for maintenance access. So it's probably going to be pretty plain. How do I make pretty plain look interesting? Or shouldn't it look interesting? Let's just add a bit of sort of scratch texture to it. Let's just do some selection and then just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That actually looks roughly like wood grain. That was a good thing, kind of like just a random flail on the mouse, wasn't it? A bit of kind of like overflow of that brighter wood into the surrounding area. Not too much though. Then we need to hint at the handle. So main thing we need to do is put a bit of shadow under it. We can go darker than that, can't we? Yep. And then I'll just reuse these colors, why not? That'll do. That doesn't look great, but it'll do. Not sure what kind of wall I'm going to have along here. Kind of the concept art, it's kind of like a wire fence, but actually saying that, when I actually had a quick look on sort of Google, and a lot of rooftops have wire fences, which seems a bit surprising. Okay, next up, let's do the kind of like shaded version of this wall. Grab all of these and just make a second variant of them that doesn't get quite as bright. Knock it down a peg. Now we just grab this edge all the way along here. Still got the 3D cursor set, so I can use that. Rotate 90. Oops. Rotate the correct 90 degrees. And then just go 1 meter that way. And we're almost good to go. Yes, it's aiming to be quite like a subtle difference between this side and this side. It might be slightly too subtle, actually. It's going to be right at the edge of the shot, and it needs to be darker. Let's make this shade darker. That looks okay. Looks a bit more like it. What I'm going to do this, I'm just going to make these completely dark on the bottom tile, just so that like when we've got some sort of trash there, it really, really stands out that it's kind of like, you know, up against the darkness. There we go, that's looking a lot better. That's got a bit of nice contrast between the front and the side. Don't think I'm using this anywhere. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to... That was the corner piece up against the wall, and we're not actually going to have a corner going that way on this darker side. So I'm going to replace it with one designed to go right into the corner behind the kind of like trash. So that should be really dark. There we go. That's a bit better. That's a bit more like it. We are also going to need some darker versions of these tiles, just because they're meant to be like underneath objects. Okay. Next up, the air conditioning unit. So let's do another Google search. Rooftop AC. Show me what they look like. Seen plenty of these in Mirror's Edge. Yeah, quite often they have like a visible fan on top. Maybe you can animate that or something, you know, nice bit of background detail. And then they kind of like tend to have this sort of like grid pattern on the side of them, which I'm guessing is probably kind of like to restrain kind of like an intake from or an exhaust filter or something. So yeah, basically a box with a grid on the side and some fans on top. That I can do that. Okay, this is going to be its own colour. Let's go for something a bit less blue, maybe something a bit more kind of. They tend to look very beige, don't they? Wonder why that is. I think all the air conditioning unit manufacturers get together and go, so we're thinking about making one purple, and it's just like, yeah, that's against the rules, sir. It must be beige, only beige. Let's go like John Wick and send the air conditioning assassins around. Again, really darken at the corner. In fact, I might, because like quite a lot of these have kind of like some separation between the ground, so I might actually try and hint at that with a bit of shadow down here. And then, move this down like 8. That's not 8. Is that 8? No, it's not 8. Is that 8? That's 8. And this here is where the tiling pattern is going to start. Let's try and make something that looks good while it tiles. That's not going to work. I don't think. No, it is. It is. Again, snap our cursor to this. Grab all of these tiles. Copy, rotate. And then all of these are going to, because they're on the first row, all going to occupy this first section here. Oh, they're all the wrong way up. Of course they are. I might actually make this bottom piece a bit taller just so that we can have like some nice tiling here. So that's definitely going to match up with that and that. Might make them slightly narrower if I can get it to tile nicely with them narrower. That's not quite going to tile right. If I made them 1 pixel wide, that might look a bit weird, but it would tile nicely. Yep, okay, so then we duplicate these up. Again, not shaded at all, but we'll figure it out. So we've got 10 minutes left today, so I might just get this air conditioner finished. And then tomorrow we can just finish off this rooftop and then maybe move on to the first scenario scene. Okay, I'm so worried about this tiling, but I haven't actually made it go up high enough to tile. What am I doing? What am I doing in general? I don't know. Make kind of a top piece that kind of again goes into a different sort of top line. Nice bit of shading down here as it's meant to be close to the ground. So one of my favourite words, occlusion. Oops, no, don't grab everything, just grab this. Nope, I've made that look absolutely terrible. Can I fix it? Can I fix it? I think it needs to be darker so it looks more like, yeah, okay, I might just darken all these a lot more than they previously have been. And then do we have another tone here? Yes, we do. Okay, so now we can make the side of it just like a bit more medium. It's kind of, I just do the whole thing that kind of like medium-ish color so we can have the top kind of have the highlight on it. All right, okay. Again, we're probably going to want a different corner bit just to kind of like make it sort of shadow against this wall. Sort that another time though, because it's starting to run short on time. And I'm probably going to want a variant of this for this side again, just like this, so it's, you know, it's not the same color on the sides as this, the side facing us. It's almost like it's actually taking in a bit of light from this, you know, bright cityscape in the background. Well, the other thing I should probably do, just to make sure that it never kind of like leaks off screen in game, is just extend this out. I need to be careful with this because my polygon clipping is not very good, and it just basically deletes any polygons that are that even touch the clipping plane. So I need to subdivide this just so it doesn't disappear, because it'll inevitably clip through the camera. So how wide are these again? These are 12.5. That makes things easy for myself, do I? That'll probably do nicely. And then I'm just going to modify the unwrap on these just so they occupy that top row of pixels. Might maybe extend it, but make it go darker given it's going overhead. It's a bit weird that it's kind of like that purple all the way along it. Might also want some layers of cloud scrolling over it and things if you're on the rooftop, just to make it look a bit more filled in. Maybe a moon as well. I was discussing a moon earlier. Might just make a unique bit of like sprite work just to sit there and look like that. But that was kind of important to do that. It might seem like a bit of a finishing touch, but like, because it helps me kind of like see how all these colors I've just chosen sit in the scene. At the moment, they don't look great. They don't look great. But at least now I know that they don't look great and I can kind of solve that problem. I feel like maybe the floor needs to be a bit darker. Just because it's obviously kind of facing away from the city skyline that's meant to be giving this all of its light's meant to be reflected from. So it shouldn't be very bright, should it? It should be quite dark. Let's darken that again. Oh no, I'm running out of brightness levels. And let's do the same with this roof access. Let's darken this quite a lot. Okay, that's looking a bit more natural. We do want the kind of like skyline to pop quite a lot. Let's grab our two characters, drag them up there and see how they kind of look in that context. Do they look kind of a bit too bright? Very slightly, but in a way that makes them very visible in the scene. So that is actually kind of a good thing. I have to order more copium at this rate. I'm starting to run low. Okay, about 4 minutes left. So let's try and do the top of this air conditioner. Let's might do a fresh palette for it. Oh yeah, I should also darken the door while I'm here. It looks a bit weird that it's kind of like really bright in the middle of an otherwise really dark sort of panel. That'll do, that'll do. Doesn't look great, but it'll do. And let's darken this a touch. Next up, I'm just going to snap the cursor to the end of this. And they're going to need rotating. Preferably by a number that's actually rational. And I think that's mirrored. Yeah, it is. Weird, I wonder how that happened. Oh wait, are these backwards? Hang on, these are backwards, aren't they? Yes, they are. Damn it, knew it. And then move it over by 0.5, change the unwrap slightly. It has disappeared, but we're kind of expecting that because we moved it out of the visible area on the unwrap. And then let's do a quick draft of the fan because we're probably not going to get this finished. All right, okay. So again, I might just reuse this color because it's probably going to look about right for this. Let's put a kind of like a bit of a... How much can you see of the fans on top of these? Sometimes you can see a lot and sometimes you can just kind of see the middle through the grill. So I guess I'm going to do kind of like a hub that you can see in the middle, and then let's use the brighter colors for that, and then use the darkest color just to kind of like hint at a bit of a grill. So fill it in and then kind of do kind of like a sort of like a chain link kind of pattern, I guess. Just to kind of hint at there being a grill there. All right, not great, but okay. This is going to be casting a bit of a shadow because obviously it's, you know, a physical object. Maybe we have more shadow on the back of it just because most of the light's meant to be coming from that cityscape across the way. This does imply that there's no building behind us to cast light, but it's not on camera, so that's fine. Okay, let's grime it up just a little bit. Not too much, but just a bit, just to make it look a bit more kind of believable and lived in. I mean, it's been on a rooftop, it's been exposed to rain and whatever, you know, horrible toxic chemicals exist in the atmosphere in this world. That's a bit more like it. And let's also do the same up on top, just a bit more kind of like grit and grime in these corners. Maybe use a few pixels of the really dark on here just to like make it look like this grime kind of like in the corners of the fan. Okay, that's looking vaguely okay. However, I've run out of time to do the front, so I'm just going to pick this up tomorrow. All right. Well, I don't really know where I'm going with this project now because I am not going to be able to get this done in time for Halloween. And also I'm having doubts about the direction of it overall. So, all in all, going fantastically. Let's continue this parade of failure tomorrow at the same time. Thank you very much for watching and have a great evening.